As you're listening to this show, you're probably training for a race. But how dialed in is your race nutrition? Precision Fuel and Hydration has a free online planner that you can use to work out how much carb, sodium, and fluid you need to perform at your best. Brady regularly uses this resealable 90-gram gel on his longer runs. Click the link in the show notes to use the planner to personalize your strategy for your next race. Then use the code INSIDE, all capitals, to get 15% off your first order of fuel and electrolytes and help support the show. Now let's get into it.
Welcome to episode number 339 of the Inside Running Podcast. Thanks for joining us for another week. We've got a big show coming at you this week. There's marathons happening to talk about in Hamburg. Ballarat happened locally. Big half marathon over in Japan. We got listener questions. Moose on the loose because Moose is back. Heaps of running news on this agenda tonight. So thanks for giving up some time and listening to us on this show. Welcome to my co-host. He's up in Canberra, Bradley Croker. How are you going?
Good, Brady. Congratulations on your run yesterday. I'm looking forward to a 2-hour marathon recap.
Oh, thank you, Croaks. I don't really like going too deep on my recaps, but I took some notes. I've jotted some stuff down today just to, put some memories on a piece of paper. So, yeah, looking forward to debriefing that and everything else that's on this agenda tonight with you. Our other co-host is finally back, Croaks. Been to Paris and back since we had him on the show last. I think he's done one run since he's been on the show last. Julian Big Moose Spence, welcome back to the Inside Running Podcast.
Thank you, mate. Good to see you on the weekend. Also, a bit disappointed to be on here now because I can't listen to the show every Tuesday morning. I was enjoying putting you blokes in the ear. Thought you covered it pretty well over the last month. Bit soft on the opinions, though.
3 weeks away.
Especially the guests, I thought. Very soft, the guest. No opinions. Really enjoyed listening to them. But when it came to an opinion, a lot of fence sitting, wasn't there?
Reece Edwards liked an opinion in the first week you were away. But yeah, Ali and Leanne, pretty politically correct.
Ali and Leanne
opinionated.
Didn't want to ruffle feathers.
Yeah,
really didn't want to shake the boat there. A couple of politicians, I reckon. Well, one's from Canberra, so you get that. And maybe angling for some roles in AA.
They've got to keep it pretty clean, though, don't they, when you're in the top kind of like 5 or 10 athletes in Australia for their events?
Yeah, and they've both got sponsors. Like sponsors probably don't want to hear some outlandish opinions, do they? Well, I guess Reece has sponsors too. Maybe he's just on a lower level than those two. In fact, I think he probably is. But no, they were good. You all, the whole gang chipped in. I really enjoyed hearing you talk about the Nationals and the Diamond League. Really nerded out a bit. Glad I missed those weeks, to be honest.
Got another Diamond League to talk about tonight. Croaks will be covering that.
Croaks will be all up and about that.
Hey, Moose, obviously tonight's show's, predominantly about our man Brady, but I haven't spoken to you for a few weeks, and I felt like last week you needed a bit of a hug, like you come back from Paris, your knee was sore, you lost your power, you did your back. How you going, mate? Are you all right?
I'm back, mate. I am. I've had a good week. Last week was a horror. Last week the knee was sore. I was still jet lagged. I did my back in the gym so I couldn't really move properly, which means I couldn't exercise, and there was no light at the end of the tunnel. It was hard work. On top of that, we're living out of our laundry, which is also now our kitchen. It's our pantry. It's our living room. And there's 3 of us basically in this tiny little shoebox trying to survive while the kitchen gets renovated. And today they did some concreting in here, so the concrete dust went everywhere. It was hard work. It was hard work that week, especially when I couldn't get my little, whatever it is, we'll call it endorphin flow from either running or surfing. But the back has come good, and this week I got some jogs in. I've been surfing a little bit and also got down to Ballarat on Sunday. So got to see the great man in action, and he was great, Brad. But I tell you what.
You're an idiot. You were good on the bike.
There were some celebrities down there. I rode past Rob D. Costella, Mona, I think Benita Willis there.
Benita Willis was on course, yep. Lisa Waitman.
What was Deke doing down there?
He was just on the side of the road. He was at the side of the road at 18K, so he thought we were running the half marathon, and he said to us, like, come on, fellas, dig in, 3K to go, all downhill. And like, we've got like 30K to go in, Deke, but yeah, thank you for the encouragement.
Yeah, but there were some big names, and but no one got more photo requests than our mate, Brad. And most of the time it was him requesting the photos with random people. Idiot. But he was a proper celebrity. It was great to watch, and he loved it too. Real Lulu, great for Lululemon down there.
Well, it's a good reward for perseverance and consistency, because this man's been putting in 7,000 Ks a year since 2018 without a PB. So, well deserved.
I think I've been going for that since like 2015, Croaks, before we started the podcast. A few Ks under the belt.
You listen to that monthly episode you have with bloody Christian, who's digging himself a hole every week, and he's filling the sand in on top of him, and he's the most down bloke in the world. Then you got Toby, who he's coming up, but he hasn't been able to. His body lets him down, and you, who just toils away for no result. If you listen to that show, you get pretty depressed. You don't know. You wonder why you're doing it. And
you start feeling pretty good about yourself. There's 3 guys on there battling away.
You do, don't you? When I talk about light at the end of the tunnel, you come out of that show and you're like, geez, these blokes got to give it up. Maybe take up skiing or something.
Rough comparing me to those two boys. Very rough.
Oh, what?
They were the ones telling me not to race.
Yeah, well, that was an interesting one, wasn't it? When the question was to you, are you committed? And it was 2 weeks out or something, and you thought, I'll see how the workout goes. I'm not sure. And I think both of them said, you got to be into this. You got to be in this or it'll go poorly.
Yeah, it wasn't until last weekend, like a week out, I pretty much pulled the trigger of like full commitment.
Yeah. Following the build-up wasn't traditional in terms of mindset and focus and everything. So, I mean, that's the beauty of these podcasts, right? You see a good result and you can track back 3 months and hear the formula for that result, and you can hear the lead in and see if there's any patterns or anything that was different from the 3 months before the race that went poorly. It's all on record. You'll have to do that one day.
Well, that's what I was jotting notes about this morning. Like, some people have gone straight away with it's like the no pressure thing, and like the local travel was the difference, and other people are like it's the whole having the longer build up and having a Saka in the legs and then being able to go to the next level again, and it's a few different things. I think the combination of the course and I don't know, I can't put my finger on one thing, but I think a lot of things kind of come together yesterday that meant I could PB.
Well, I reckon the result, I still think you can run significantly faster than what you have run. And it's been there before now. I think the mental side of things massive in that it's almost like, in a way, you're not expected to go there and run that well. Because it's the first year of Ballarat. Traditionally, it's not known for being super fast. It can be a bit windy. So, having all of that pressure off, but the fact that you're still fit, obviously allowed you then to be able to, get the result that, you sort of deserve, and hopefully it's a stepping stone to something faster. But the problem is now it's now you go, if I go overseas, I should be able to run a few minutes faster. And then that changes the mindset into, I now have to run a few minutes faster.
It was just a feeling too. I just felt great the whole race. I'd never, a couple of times I'm like, okay, this is starting to get tiring. But the way the wind was going and the course layout, you were the most tired at, obviously, 35K onwards. And that was when you got a tailwind and downhill and massive crowds. And it was just,
Why don't you always go last? Why don't you go through your week and then give us your race recap?
Yeah.
We might, Croaks, we might need to set an intermission.
Yeah, so I'm going to have a piss.
Should we preempt that?
This is coming from the two guys that bang on about boring weeks, like every single week of the year. Like, I don't know what you guys are thinking about me banging on for too long.
Oh, here he is. Look, he has one good run and he's up and about, isn't he?
What? Finally getting a bit of mic time and you guys are cutting me off here.
All right, tell us what you did on Monday.
Monday, I did an hour easy at 4:44 pace. In the afternoon, I did a 6K in the Arva at 4:49 pace. Tuesday, I caught up with Archie. We did like a 4K tempo. We kind of progressed it a bit. Kind of started at 3:16 pace and then worked down to 3:09 for the last K. Jogged 2 minutes and then did 4 by 2 minute reps, which were probably just under 3 minute K pace off a minute jog between. So that was a nice little taper workout. Good to have some company there as well. Wednesday, did 12K at 4:42 pace in the morning. Then I got some treatment. I had a bit of a tight back. So I went and saw my man, Jay Court, the horse masseuse boys. Told you about him before. Just works wonders with his hands. He loosened me up.
Hold on a second. Some drug testing after the race.
Oh, yeah, I'll get to the drug testing. No, he doesn't. He just puts his hands on me. Nothing goes inside my body at all.
Equine anti-inflammatory.
Nothing through any. We'll move on from there. Did 20 minutes after that just to like loosen up. So that was at like 4:56 pace. Thursday did 12K at 4:38 pace. Friday did 11K with 8 by 30 second surges with a minute jog between those. And I was back I was at school because we had Thursday off school because it was Anzac Day. And then Friday I got to school and I only had 13 students. So like 12 of them had a long weekend and just didn't rock up. So I was like, this is perfect for marathon prep, having 12 kids away. Meant that, the day at work was pretty chilled out. Saturday, did 7K in the morning before Carly and I drove to Bendigo, dropped off the kids at my parents', and then we went on to Ballarat. Went and picked up the bib. I submitted my drinks as well. I watched the 5K happen, and then we went down and watched the mile happen, and I was blown away. I was like, this event, like I've done a lot of big collections in my days, and it felt like this event was established and been going for like 5 years with how easy and how all professional that was set up. So yeah, had a good experience there. Had some pasta, laid low, and then got to the race day, Sunday. Went for a bit of a walk at about 6:30, just to the main. We were staying like a block and a half from the start line. So went to like the main road, which is Sturt Street, where a lot of the racing was on, and just walked around for probably, 10 minutes, headphones in, getting in the zone. Noticed it was pretty windy, but it was kind of a northerly, so it was kind of coming across Sturt Street at that stage. And then got to the start line. Just a relaxed atmosphere. The half marathoners were obviously there as well, so a lot of familiar faces with guys like Archie and Reece Edwards. Stood next to Tommy Do Canto on the start line, having a good laugh. Heaps of listeners, heaps of people from the Run to PB community. It was just a great setup. I was shocked with how steep Sturt Street was, Moose. I knew it was a hill, but when I got there on the Saturday, I was like, oh, this is a decent hill that probably goes for a K and a half. The way the race worked, we started probably maybe a third up it. So yeah, you kind of had maybe a K of it in the first lap, and then when you went through lap 1, then you had the whole 1.5 K of it all together there. So gun goes.
I think if you look at just on the hill, if you look at the course profile, if you took out the hill, it would probably be 80 meters of climbing, maybe less for the entire marathon. But you add that one hill in and you do it twice, so like all up, like 1.5 times, I guess, you're going to you get about 180 or something, or 160. So it's a pretty serious hill. You're right.
Yeah, I do like that it came at the start and then at like 21K though. It felt like once you're up at 22, 23K that you didn't have a lot. There was one other pinch coming out of Victoria Park, but other than that, it was pretty flat.
Hold on a second here.
Vic Park.
That pinch, that is not a pinch. I was training there for 6 years.
Yeah, I've trained with you on there.
Where's the pinch at?
When you come out of it. So you drop down the hill when you go into Vic Park, and then you do that crit trap thing, and then you come out of it, and then there was a drinks table, and then you turned a sharp left, and then a sharp right, and then another left to get onto Sturt Street. And it was also the wind was hammering us straight up there as well.
Maybe it was the wind. I don't think there's much hill involved there.
There's a hill there for sure. Have a look at my Strava splits.
I'm looking at your Strava now.
Hey, Brady, before you get into the actual race itself, so like on the start line, talk us through like your nerves and your mentality compared to like Valencia and Osaka. Are you like as nervous as you are on those start lines, or was it completely different?
I was very relaxed with the nothing to lose kind of mentality, and this race didn't really mean much to me. But at the same time, I was like nervous and worried that I didn't know how my body was going to perform, given the like not traditional build up and the fact that I'd raced Osaka like eight weeks before. So like there was very like big concerns that this could be a shocking day and that my body just wasn't ready and I run 2:25 or I pull out after the first lap. Like that unknown was the bit that was worrying me. Whereas those other races, you know you're kind of fit and you know you're kind of ready to go and you're kind of primed for that day. So yeah, it was kind of two minds there, Croaks, which wasn't super giving me a lot of confidence. But once we got going, it was fine. Like we jumped in a pack of half marathoners. Yeah, I was surprised how slow the half marathoners were going in like the first 3 or 4K. I kind of made a comment to Nathan, who I was running with, that like, yeah, these guys don't look like they're going to run 63 today. Like it seemed they kind of went off at 66 pace and maybe then picked it up. Yeah, we got to, and then we kind of got dropped. They started running like 3:10s, whereas they were kind of running 3:15s for the first 4 or 5K, the group we were in. And then Nathan and I were kind of solo. And then at probably 8 or 9K, Ben Kelly got dropped from the group and was kind of coming back to us. And when we called him, he just turned around and said, like, my day's done for the half marathon. What pace are you guys running? And he just, offered to pace us, which was really nice of him. So we just said, keep it at 3:17, 3:18 and get us through the first lap if you want. We'd really appreciate that. And you felt the wind, I think, Moose, once you got to Lake Wendouree. That was a lot more exposed. And you probably, actually ran into that northerly, whereas it felt like it was always going across Sturt Street for probably the first 10 or 12K of that lap.
It was a real side wind. And then the second lap, like the first lap was pretty calm, I reckon, about 10K an hour winds. But then it definitely picked up for your second lap. And you felt it the most on the lake for sure. Yeah,
and I think on the second lap as well, it kind of... we felt like we had it coming down Sturt Street, which was nice. A bit of a tailwind there as well. So, Ben took us through like the first lap in, I should have had these times written down. I think it was like 69:33, which was good. And then he just kept running up the hill, which was really nice of him, and got us up the hill for the second time before pulling out. And then, I just kind of turned to Nath. So we were sitting in second and third at this stage, and Tommy Do Canto was out in front. He went through with Reece Edwards in like 65:30, I think it was. We couldn't see him at all. He was well out in front. And then, I kind of said to Nath, because it was a bit windy, I said, we'll take 2K each, which got us in and then out of Vic Park, and it got us to the most, is that easterly point, Moose, when you do the U-turn up the top?
Northeast, I guess.
Northeast, yeah.
No, northwest.
Okay, whatever that point was, which was pretty quiet up there. A few kind of spectators, but you're kind of running on the side of a major kind of road, and bit exposed, a bit open, and it climbed a tiny bit. Like you could just tell you were slightly going uphill. And then when we did the Yui there, it was my turn to lead, and I felt great. So I just kept the pace where we were at, and then Nath kind of dropped off a bit, and that was probably the first time on that second lap, Moose, that you pulled up next to us, and kind of said some encouraging words, and then that led down to my favourite part of the course. I don't know the street name, but once you turn the left off Sturt Street, Moose, there was like crowds on both sides. Pleasant Street, yeah. So Croaks, this was like the road you went in to access the lake, but then you also came out of the lake. So you had like a whole lot of like spectators there because they could see you at a few different points.
Bit like Albert Park at Melbourne Marathon, that sort of junction.
Yeah, kind of, but maybe only like a 2-lane road. So like you had the support on both sides of the road. It was really kind of cool. Felt like Tour de France-y. Like the crowd was almost like on top of you. And obviously a lot of people chose to stand there for the morning. And then you got onto the lake and there was just very little spectators. And it's a 6K lake and it just seems to go forever. But I was just feeling great. Like I was just, ticking off the Ks. I felt like I was in a really, really good rhythm. I went from being, this is something that really worked for me as well. I was like first lap, I was like, okay, I want to stay in third and I want to get some prize money. That's my goal for today. And then second lap, I'm like, okay, I'm in second. I really want to protect second position. So then when I was getting away from Nath, I was kind of like growing in confidence. And there was a moment when I yelled out to Moose and I asked him, Croaks, how far back is fourth? And he just said, there is no fourth, like, which gave me a lot of confidence too. It was like, don't worry about fourth anymore. Like you're running well here. Like keep this confidence and building on this kind of thing. And then I had the mentality when I got to the lake that I was going to make the lake my bitch, which I never ever speak like that in any other aspect of my life. And when I turned onto the lake, I'm like, this lake, I've got 20 minutes around this lake. I'm going to smash this lap of the lake to finish this race off. And then it was like super windy in the first 50 metres of the lake, and that the lake quickly made me, it's a bitch, yeah. But we got around there. It was 6K around there, grinded out. I did yell out to Moose about 500 metres before the lake finished, like, when does this lake end? Because I just didn't know when we were going to turn off. But then we turned off at like 39K, got this massive tailwind, and then it just all rolled downhill, and the crowds... Like, obviously, it's a bit of a heartland of where our listeners are. Like, that was where you were living when we started the show, Moose. So there's a lot of probably listeners that we've got there from the start. People were just yelling my name. I was very grateful with the amount of support I got. And I was feeling great. Like, I just, started. I just had my lap Ks on for my watch, which I never do in marathons. And I forgot to turn them off. But I was just getting positive, like, reinforcement every K. Because I'm like... There was times when I'm like, back off a bit, it's a bit windy, and then my watch would beep and it'd be like 3:20. And I'm like, this isn't even slowing you down. This is fantastic. So at this stage, I'm seeing like 3:15s, 3:14s. And I'm like, that's when I started thinking, I'm like, I must be close to being able to break 2:20 today. And then that was when it got a bit messy. We started hitting some half marathoners. So they're kind of running... 2 hour 25, 2 hour 30 kind of half marathons, and a lot of them like had headphones in and they were kind of all over the road. So Moose and your mate on the bike as well were great, just like yelling out to people like stay left, which was probably one of my bits of feedback to the race. If somehow on Sturt Street on the second lap they can just say, marathoners stick to the right, half marathoners stick to the left, and funnel you in that way would be super easy. And then
to be fair, there was only probably 10 people that it bothered. I don't think any, like, outside the top 10 would have had any issue with that.
Yeah, okay. Because moving at different speeds, or they would have been finished by the time they got through, you mean?
Both.
Yeah,
Both.
Okay. Yeah. Because Tommy, they were trying to get a car through for Tommy, weren't they? Or you wouldn't have seen any of that because you were with me.
I missed all that, but he was. But that's the thing, right? First place has the escort, but then you get to second and third and fourth, and there's nothing. So you have to make the noise yourself.
Yeah.
And because there was a decent gap, like a couple of minutes between when that first place went through, people just forget what's going on, and all of a sudden they spread across the road again, and the earphones are the worst, aren't they? Like
they just can't hear you kind of saying stuff. Yeah,
and you feel like a bit of a jerk off telling people to get across. But it's like they pay their money. They're allowed to be on the course.
Oh, yeah. The confusion is, and like most of the time they want to move when the best thing is not to move. It's just like, I'll get around you. And then they'll kind of look back and I'm like, stay there. And then all of a sudden it's like they move into your line and then you've got to make a like last minute kind of sidestep. So that got a bit, a bit congested. This is like literally in the last K I'm talking about here.
K.
Yeah. And then my watch beeped at 42K. So at the very bottom of the hill. And I knew my K markers would be out a bit. So I wasn't really concerned about how accurate that was going to be. But it said like 2:18:30. And I was just like, all right, I've got 90 seconds to get up this hill. And I just fanged it. I just ran as hard as I could. Got a bit emotional coming over the line because I was starting to think I'd never break 2:20 again. And I really didn't expect Ballarat to be the place to do it. And it was at one of those stages where I knew, 50 metres out, I'm like, there's no way that I'm not going to break my PB here. And this is just, I've been under the finish lines at marathons many a times when it's been a shit day. And I appreciate this. And saw Mona. He kind of, gave me a shake of the hand and said congratulations. And the commentator did go to send me through for another lap. She was like, here comes one of our marathoners about to start their second lap. And I'm like, oh, this is a bit awkward. Oh, I'm actually finishing. So that kind of ruined the moment a tiny bit. But, stoked across the line. As I said, felt amazing, like plenty of running in the last couple of Ks. And, it was a really pleasant experience until I then quickly got pulled aside and, found out I had to do a drug test, which I'd done once before at Stall in 2012. Have you guys done one before?
No. Only at home.
Oh, yeah. So urine at home?
And blood.
And blood, yeah. So, this was, just urine. Tommy got blood as well as urine. But it's just I wanted just to, see Carly and Zaka straight away and, just celebrate, go to a pub with some mates and stuff afterwards. And I fully understand, the importance of clean sport and get that. But I knew straight away after my experience at Stall that it's, a couple of hour process to be able to actually provide a sample. So it went from, skull and water, Gatorades, trying to get as much liquid in me as possible. And then I think, we went to presentations, and I think it was 12:30, 1 p.m. by the time I could provide a sample. And at this stage, Carly's sat in the car for 2 hours out the front of our hotel, and everyone's gone home, and you leave the town hall with your novelty check and backpack, and everyone's packing up guardrails and things like that. So it was I don't know, it's just a bit of a buzzkill because you just want to start celebrating with your mates who have also had good days, and you're stuck in a town hall. But that's part of our sport, and definitely not complaining about the importance of clean sport. But then
you would have thought though, Ballarat first year of Ballarat Marathon, and they've got drug testers there.
They were testing down to fourth too, and those guys do a great job. They're very thorough, and there's obviously strict procedures and stuff you follow. But then I start I'm the guy that gets nervous when the police are behind me driving. And I'm just have I got cocaine in the boot for some reason? Has someone planted drugs in my car? What can I possibly be guilty for? I start thinking about, what supplements have I taken, or what meals have I eaten in the last week? And, how many weeks ago was I on antibiotics and things like that? I start just, panicking straight away. But, we get the results in 2 to 4 weeks. They send them off to the lab. And I'm just is this the Peter Bowl lab? And they're like, yep, that's the same lab.
Good luck, mate. Good luck.
I know. I'm almost feel like I can't celebrate until I know that I'm clean. But I'd want to be on some pretty dodgy peds if all I'm doing is running 2:19:40. And they're not working too well if that's the case.
So you weren't doing any sums throughout the race? Obviously you probably saw a halfway split, but outside of that you weren't really calculating what you needed to run for the last 10K to break 2:20?
No. So I obviously saw halfway, and I'm okay, we got 27 seconds up our sleeve, and then our next K up the hill was 3:28, and I'm okay, we've just lost 8 seconds already. That is not good. I had no idea until when my watch clicked 42, and even Moose, you never gave me a split or said this is go for 2:20 kind of thing. You were just saying run strong, relax my jaw. You said at one stage, So, and I think that's probably helped me too, Croaks. I used to always get fixated in the 5K splits. I just know they're 16:35 if you want to break 2:20, and I just never saw a 5K split throughout the whole race. Which
something
was,
in that,
was
maybe?
good for me, yeah. Yeah, I think there was something in that. Obviously, being relaxed was good. It was.
Do you know what you mentioned before about that positive feedback you were getting from the good watch data coming through? So it's the same thing with chasing people down, isn't it? It can go either way. Watch data can, if you're seeing some bad stuff, it can totally ruin your headspace, and it can put dark thoughts in your head, and it can make you quit, and it just makes it hard to get excited. In fact, it can do like drag you down into like the deep depths of of the marathon well. But it can also do exactly what it did to you. You can look down and think, I'm fucking flying today. Give me more of this. I want to see what the next split is. 3:18, 3:17, 3:15. And you're like, I'm flying. I want to see the next one already. So it just depends on what sort of day you're having as to whether you can use it to your advantage or not, doesn't it?
Yeah, and I think like I never then look down at the pace between the K splits going off. So my goal was always run a pace that feels right. Okay, bang, that equaled 3:18. Good. Now run a pace that feels right. It beeps again. Oh, that was a 3:16, but it felt right. Like I never chased a pace on my watch. I was always just feeling the pace. And I only looked at my watch. Yeah, I looked at it 42 times. That was it. But and there was times where I'm like, back off a bit. This feels a bit like you're going too quick. And then it was backing off because of how it felt, not what my watch was telling me. Because 3:15s and stuff in the past would have like freaked me out that I'm going to then blow up. So yeah, there was something in that as well. I think there was something in having Carly on course. Like I usually go solo. I'm sitting in a hotel room by myself for 3 or 4 nights leading in, and just having someone on the course that obviously means so much in your life. Like you get excited for certain points of the course knowing that was coming up. So that and it probably kept me calm in the drive over and the hotel room and things like that as well. So yeah, that was probably another factor that I did differently for this one coming into this race. So,
looks like a nice, just on your Strava here, looks like a nice finish, nice sort of downhill.
Oh, mate, so good. And that was like, yeah, downhill and tailwind. So, and then you chuck the crowd factor in there. Yeah, and you do climb for the last 400, but you know what it's like. You can see the finish line. You know you're not going to die. You're just like, I can get up this hill. Like it's not going to, if you're having a bad day, it would be really hard. But yeah, when everything was in control, it was a great course. Like really hats off to the organisers for putting that together in their first year. I think it's going to become a really big race on the Australian calendar for that autumn marathon.
Hey, Moose, question for you. So you've obviously been in Ballarat a lot, and it sounds like, and obviously like it was a successful first year for Ballarat, but as we know, like the weather can be real fickle down there. Would you say that this weekend was almost like as good as it gets down there?
Absolutely. Saturday night when I got down there and watched the mile, I spoke to a couple of other Ballarat people, and they were just looking at me going, what the fuck is going on? Like, this is where they go and take photos for catalogs. That's how good the weather was that night. Not a breath of wind. It had that nice, like, pink kind of sunset. It made the buildings look amazing. And then the next morning, it wasn't as good as the Saturday night, but it was about as good as you could hope for Ballarat. And look, they do everything right, these guys. Like, they've marketed it real well. They've gone high class in how they've, like, all their logistics. They haven't half-assed it. They're going, you can sort of see that they've gone, we're going to put a big event on here, and it's going to be really good from the first year. We're not going to start grassroots and then slowly introduce things. They're like, let's make it big and let's give everyone a top-level experience. And they got 4,500 maybe?
I think 4,800 I read today.
Oh, Jesus. So that's enormous. And then everyone's come and seen the weather and had a even if their race didn't go well, like they knew that it was a great day down in Ballarat. It is going to set this race up.
Moose, question, about the wind there. Like, I've ran Ballarat 15K so many times around the lake on windy days, and it feels like you can almost make up what you lose, which I don't think's like traditional for when you do windy races. Like, does it swirl around there?
No, you just had the best wind that you could get for the lake.
Northerly's good, isn't it? Because you get more cover on the north, but then you get the tailwind on the south.
Yeah,
where it's open.
Going through the gardens, you got your headwind, and then and so that you get coverage from the gardens basically. A lot more trees in there, a lot more buildings, and then you turn around, you got the crosswind along the top of the lake, and then you got a tailwind where it's real exposed. In the opposite wind, it is so awful. And you would have had a hell of a time coming back around that lake. So everything worked out fine for you.
Yeah.
The only reason I brought up the weather moves because I read an article in the days leading up, and Mona said, look, we've put everything in place. Like, it's a great course. Like, obviously the one thing that we can't control is the weather, and Ballarat, is known for a bit of wind. And I can't remember if it was you're going to get 1 in 3. Like, 1 out of every 3 days will be good, or 2 out of 3 days will be good. And I guess it's like the only risk for this event would be like, and you hate for weather to impact it, but you get a couple of these rough Ballarat days a few years in a row, and it's probably not going to be like the best or the most enjoyable experience.
No, it could be carnage out there, but that's
any marathon. It's any marathon.
You're right. It's hard to say, oh, just be careful at Ballarat, because, you can get a 30-degree day at Sydney, or you can get a 35, 40k an hour wind, just like we've had at Melbourne a bunch of times. It is, or Osaka can be piss and rain. Like, next year, every one of those could be the exact opposite and perfect. What they've done well, and maybe like one. The recommendation you had about the half people, Brady, for me, although it is an amazing finish in the city down there, and you get to go through like the heritage buildings and the Lydiard Street and all that, go past that, it's a hill that they don't need. You could realistically loop them back at the start line to get rid of the real sharpness of the hills. And you could just run a little bit further out Remembrance Drive, perhaps. Or you could just, there's ways to make the course faster if they wanted.
Okay.
There's just so much flat area in Ballarat, they could do that. And they've got like an endless road out Remembrance Drive that's pretty flat, that you can just go out and back on to make up hilly like that. It's a novelty down there. But for some people, if you're going to make it for people like Tom to come down, you to come down again and run PBs, and you did it. So, but if you want to get more of a chance of running PBs, then you can change the course and make it quicker.
Well, that's the message I sent you, Brady, on Saturday night. It was like, good luck, mate. Go there, run a PB. Like, because if you run a PB there, you'll put Ballarat on the map. Knowing, the fact that you've travelled all over the world trying to run like fast marathons, and then you've done it in Ballarat. What are the chances?
You reckon I invoice them, Croaks? Not many people ran PBs there.
Maybe.
Wait till that wait till the drug test comes back.
Yeah, I'm very confident the drug test is going to be fine.
So, Brady, question in terms of what does this change now for future marathons in terms of your training leading in, but also potentially your mental approach?
Good question. That's the thing. You can't pinpoint one thing and be like I did see a comment somewhere it's all those 200k weeks. I did one 200k week in the last 3 months. So I don't think it's I do want to experiment with getting more mileage under my belt. I think I run well off higher mileage and a lot of easy jogging and stuff like that. It feels like a monkey's just off the back a bit, Croaks, because I've gone as I said before, it's obviously pretty well documented I'm not great at running marathons, and I was on a bit of a regression. So this was one of the ones, probably the only one, where I've ran strong every K of the race. So it gives me a lot of confidence that if I do the next one, wherever it is, that I can run a solid 42k in a row, not be fading at 35k and have to survive a bit. I should also note that I went a bit heavier carb-wise. So my 3 days leading in with my carbs, I tracked all that. And Thursday I had 677 grams, Friday I had 640, and Saturday I had 590. So I went probably a bit over the old 10 grams per kilo of body weight. And then I probably had close to 100 grams an hour during the race. So I think that...
100 an hour?
Yeah, I reckon...
Solid. It's a solid amount.
Yep, I had the 90... I pretty much nearly finished the 90 gram big precision one. And I had the drink mix as well, so I was kind of topping up. And that's been a long time practicing to be able to hold that. And then I also taped random gels I just had in the shed to the drink bottles, and then I would just grab them off my drink bottle and just have like one mouthful and then throw it just to just get like little top-ups as I was going. And they were just different flavours as well. So I think that's another thing, Croaks, like the fueling for this one obviously worked because I felt strong the whole way.
Yeah.
So that's something I take, confidence in next time around.
And you dumped your little athlete, your coach, at 30K mark, flattened him out.
Yeah, well, I was
give him any warning, or was it just all bets are off at that point, or what?
No, it was just my turn to lead, and I just kind of kept the pace similar. And Nate's probably someone we do need to get, because he should be running, under 220. He's a 29:30 guy and 65-minute guy, but just had struggles trying to get the carbs in and the calories. So I think he did 4 gels for the whole race. So we're talking about 120 grams for the whole race, and you can easily just look at his splits and see that he's hit the wall. And I said to him, that's probably the hardest thing he'll ever do, trying to finish that race. Like it's a very hard situation you put yourself in when you're bonking like that. And I also said that I've just felt the best I've ever felt in my 11th marathon. Like it takes tweaking and changing things and trial and error to be able to, like it's a prick of an event, the marathon, to be able to get right.
Did his racing flats have about 1,000K in them?
Unconfirmed. What do you have on? Alpha Flies?
I don't know.
Alpha 2, I reckon it was. I think it was Alpha 2. Mate.
He got the Alpha 2s before Burnley half marathon last year in September. He wore them for Burnley half marathon for the first time when he was second or third. So I don't think they would have had that many Ks in them. But yeah, stuff to think about.
How much cash you win?
$2,500 after my drug test comes back clean.
Big cash.
But as you boys would know, for small business owners that do pay-as-you-go for your tax, that's where that will be going straight to.
Oh,
it's a quarterly.
Sad.
It's a
fucking sad life.
It's a quarterly.
The man's making so much money with his tax bills high.
And when you're working, when you're on a part-time teacher wage, no, I'm not making heaps of money. I just have a bill I have to pay because it's all pre-tax.
You'd think you'd take Carly out for dinner. Sorry, Dale. This is going on the tax bill.
Mate, we went to the Creswick IGA on the way home. That was good.
Creswick IGA?
Creswick IGA? Good IGA there.
What, for dinner?
No, not for dinner. Just to stock up.
Table in one of the aisles.
Just to get some snacks for the drive home, Croaks. Then you pick up the kids. The kids are tired. They don't care that you've even ran a marathon, and they're crying and, falling asleep at weird times, and you finally crack a beer at about 7 p.m. And then that's it.
Great work, mate.
It's not the celebrations you think you're going to be having, but happy it's done. Thank you, fellas. Let's talk about something different now. And I must thank you, Moose. On-course support was brilliant. Some really positive things he said to me, Croaks. And, I obviously have a lot of respect for how you execute marathons and feel it was some invaluable piece of advice. My favourite one, Croaks, was let your jaw drop. Anyone ever said that to you before?
No.
It works.
Did you let your jaw drop?
Yeah, I said I made that like my bitch when my jaw was dropping on that second lap, Moose.
For 500 metres.
They should rename it the Brady Trelfall lap. Take Monter's name off it. It was a good piece of advice.
Yeah, it was. It's hard to know what to say to someone out there in the marathon, especially if they're going poorly. You were going well, so it was easy. Just keep running, mate. You're doing well. You looked amazing. Like I had no idea of pace, but you looked really good, and you were positive as well. So it was. I mean, you're in the right zone. I did have some paces run past, like the official paces, absolutely carrying on to their group, doing these big, massive pep talks halfway through the race, and I was like, not sure that's what I'd want to hear halfway through a race from someone I don't know.
Yeah, because you stopped at one stage to talk to Skillsy. And I was like, then I was lonely for about 4 or 5K until you caught back up to me, and I'm like, it was good to be solo for a bit, but then I needed someone just to be like, you're still looking good, keep going. So that was good.
I know. I haven't seen him in years. As soon as I stopped, I'm like, here we go. He's going to tell me how good he's going, but he didn't.
And I was getting mixed messages from so someone at one stage was like, Tom's only a minute up the road. He's gone to the toilet. And I'm just like, holy shit, Tom's gone. And then the next person be like, he's a K up the road. And I'm like, okay, that's not a minute. I had no idea where he was. But it was 3 minutes in front of me.
Yeah, he was never in striking distance. Never. We could never see him.
No, never saw him. 2.5 minutes in the end. So good to see Tommy Do Canto win some cash as well. What have you boys been doing? Croaks, you want to go next?
So I had my biggest week since June last year. I kicked off with 10K on Monday, 4:24s, and then I went to the gym that afternoon. Then Tuesday morning, I jumped on the treadmill. First time I've actually been on the treadmill in quite a while. So I just did 35 minutes, 5-minute Ks on the treadmill. And then Tuesday afternoon, went out to the track. Session was a good old sort of bread and butter, 8 by K off a minute standing rest. I actually felt pretty good in this session. So splits were like 3:15, 3:16, 3:12, 3:13, 3:11, 3:12, 3:12, 3:09. Pace-wise, felt really smooth and comfortable. Probably just noticed lack of volume in my legs. So it was just started to just become a bit of a grind. Although the pace felt comfortable, that feeling where you're just I'm just lacking a little bit of strength here. But got through it. My calves though, I don't know what it is about the track. Maybe it's my age, but I never used to pull up as sore from the track as I do now. And it's like these paces aren't. I get it. If I'm running 3K pace, 1500 pace, even 5K pace on the track, I'm probably going to pull up sore. But this felt really pretty slow, and I still pulled up sore through the calves. Anyway, and then Wednesday I got out in the afternoon. I don't think I ate enough during the day because I started to get pretty dizzy towards the back end. But I did 90 minutes at 4:14s. And then on Thursday, just 8.5K, 4:25s. Friday was session day down at the lake, just a 30-minute tempo. I whacked the old Alpha Fly 1s on because my body was still feeling a bit banged up in terms of DOMs. And I always feel like the Alpha Fly 1s can, I don't know, just don't pull up as sore and they don't seem to load my calves up. Plus, I find I probably run about 5 seconds a K faster than any other shoe. So, I did 30 minutes, 3:21s, which, it was probably working a bit hard towards the end. I did the same session 3 weeks before and averaged 3:26s. So a nice progression, but I was probably running a little bit harder than I was 3 weeks ago. But I still think fitness has progressed. Went to the gym that afternoon. Saturday, got out for, an hour, 4:21s. Jumped on the treadmill that afternoon for 30 minutes, so 6K. And then Sunday morning, because the weather's been cooling down, so actually Friday morning, the apparent temperature when we started the actual session at 7 o'clock felt like -1. And so that sort of made the session, in terms of the conditions were great. There was no wind whatsoever. But, when it gets sort of into the minuses, you just feel like you lock up a little bit. You just, I don't know, don't feel like you're moving quite as well, or you just start to stiffen up a bit. But because the weather's cooling down, I figure we don't have to start our long runs quite as early. So I messaged Zach Saturday afternoon, said, mate, I'm going to start at 8 o'clock. If you're interested. He's like, yep, I'll meet you there. Got to 8 o'clock. There's no Zach. I'm like, how long do I give him? Waited till 8:05 and still no Zach. But the problem was because I was meeting him, I never took my earphones or my headphones. So I was just like, all right, well, looks like I'm just solo for 2 hours and nothing in my ears, which was actually quite enjoyable. The time went pretty quick. So I did 2 hours, 4:11s, 28.7K. Got back to the car. There's a message from Zach at about 8:15. Yeah, may have slept in. So,
had he been on the beers the night before?
Yeah, I did see an Instagram story the afternoon before that he was having a few drinks.
Yeah, now Zach says this is the one he murders every Sunday on his long runs when they're running 4:05 pace. This is smart from Zach. Training the correct zone, Zach.
No, he's been murdering me.
He wasn't keen for a 2-hour tempo.
Well, he reckons he wouldn't have been good for 2 hours that morning based on how he felt. So anyway, that was my week. That was 130K with 2 gym sessions, 2 decent running sessions. So just need to keep it there for a few weeks.
Zach also ran Canberra Marathon a couple of weeks ago, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. He wasn't doing 2 hours.
Okay.
He was only doing like 90 minutes.
He's just letting his hair down post-marathon.
Yeah, that's fine.
like this. He was the one in the doco.
Yeah, he was. Yeah.
Yeah.
I still think it's worth the public name and shame, though.
Yeah, I agree. I'd do the same
You
with
reckon,
Archie, I reckon, over the years.
I'm not sure. 2 weeks after the marathon, you coach him, Brad?
3 weeks after the marathon, isn't it?
3 weeks you take him out for 2 hours and beat the absolute shit out of him.
He was going to do 90 minutes.
90
You
minutes.
smacked him up for 2 hours last week, though, didn't you?
No, he did 80 minutes. That
so
was
he's-
Jack.
so he's-
Jack.
Jack.
Jack ran with, yeah. So, no, Zach did 80 minutes last week, was going to do 90, but we wouldn't have run this fast if he was there.
Zach just could be a very smart man. Good work,
Maybe.
though. That's a good week. You hear his big announcement last week, Moose? Gold Coast pacing job into Melbourne Marathon.
Mate, some absolute carry on here. You got to... We've got Brad Croker making announcements on his races like a press conference.
Well, it doesn't seem like you got any races coming up.
No, but I'm not going to announce them like you are. Like, everyone hold your breath.
You did a while back. You're like, oh, boys, after Osaka, I've realised I'm going to race more. I'm going to do Great Ocean Road. I'm going to get up to Ballarat and help the boys. I'm going to just race a lot.
I would love to race a
Doesn't feel
lot.
now.
That's not an announcement. It's you like drum roll, please.
Moose, I want to know where your body's at, because this is literally the first time we've spoken since you left for Paris, so I don't even know what's going on with you.
Yeah,
become
well,
an influencer.
I actually got a scan on my knee, so that left knee didn't get any better after taking a decent amount of time off. Like, I maybe took a week off and just tested it once during it, and it was no good. So I ended up getting a scan after I got back from Paris. I ran 5K when I was away, just on the run that Nike had set up while I was there.
Scavenger hunt?
No scavenger hunts, mate. I was out there with big dogs of the running world. So I ran with a bloke from the Citius Mag podcast, actually.
All right.
You'd probably listen to that, do you?
Well, I know who's Chris Chavez?
No, it wasn't him.
Oh, he's the one I know. Also, what's his name? The 1,500 metre runner?
Merba.
Yeah, he does a bit there as well, doesn't
he?
he?
Wasn't him either.
All right,
No,
so
it wasn't him.
C grade Citius Magpie.
Is it something with M, Moose? What's his name? Is it Mally or something like that? No. Oh, you don't actually know his name.
No, he said he's from Citius Mag, though.
C grade.
Is this the one that Kipchoge didn't rock up for?
Yeah, fucker. So we had a few heads up that he might have been planning to come for a run, like maybe give back to the company that pays him millions. But nah, got out on course 6 a.m. Apparently ran the marathon course or a fair bit of it. He wanted to see where the hills are at. And at 6 a.m., no one's even awake in Paris. Mate, it's bloody sleepiest city I ever met. Nothing goes on. I went out for a walk one morning, didn't see a soul. Like, no one runs there in the mornings. It's not a very good running city, to be honest. Like, maybe they can put a good marathon on, but it's not like I couldn't find anywhere good to jog anyway.
There's a park like 3 or 4K out of town, isn't there?
Oh, maybe.
I think so, yeah.
Maybe, yeah.
Takes a bit to get there, though.
It gives you, like, it makes Melbourne look bloody good as a running city, though. Like, that's what I reckon. Like, being able to access places like the Tan and Princes Park just so close, and dirt tracks, that's big time. And even Studley Park, being just a couple of K out of the city, very good. But yeah, my knee's no good. So it felt very similar to my right knee when it played up. And I got a scan. I got tons of findings from it. Probably the main thing that I think links up with my symptoms the most is advanced chondromalacia patella, which is like cartilage issues just under the kneecap, which is exactly where I'm feeling the pain. And so I also had edema, a bit of bone edema as well. So that's just a sign that the bones are rubbing together, not enough cartilage to prevent the bones hitting each other. So that's a time thing. I can rehab that a little in terms of rest, and then I can also strengthen quads and glutes. And I've actually been really good on my right knee since I had the flare up probably 18 months ago. 18 months? Nearly 2 years ago now.
It's the opposite knee.
Yeah, it's the opposite knee.
Okay.
That's why I got the scan on it, to make sure like there's no surgical intervention. I can go down that road. And I think if it continues to play up, I'll consult a surgeon to see if there's anything they can do with the cartilage under there. But so far, so good. Like, I've done a few runs back this week. Did some 2-minute repeats one night. Then I did some 3-minute repeats. Today I ran 5 by 5 minutes, and I'm not feeling the knee at all. I'm horrendously unfit, which I don't care about at all. It's just shocking to me how hard running is. Even in 5-minute intervals, and I take a minute break, at the end of the 5 minutes, I am genuinely thankful that interval is up. Like, that's the type of fitness I'm at. And my heart rate's not that high. It's just I have absolutely no endurance whatsoever. And I'm starting to I get to the end of the 5 minutes, I'm like, thank God. Like, I feel like I need a rest now. So it's a long way back for me, but I feel like I've got the passion there to do it. Certainly not all over, but it's just going to be a long way. It's going to be a long way back. And I'm watching the marathon on the weekend thinking, this is so far out of my ballpark for where I am right now. It's hard to fathom that I'd ever be back. I know I will be. I think like that all the time. It's just going to be a very long road back.
Moose, the knee stuff, do you put it down to like footy? Like, 'cause I know a lot of like guys that used to play footy that have a lot more knee issues than, say, like myself, who, like, I'm a bit older than you, but I've never played played footy. Like, I played soccer till I was like 12, but that, it doesn't really count. And my knees are like 100%.
I think so. And also, I've noticed surfing lately how much flexion and extension I go into on the board, because it's really limiting my knees. And I'm thinking, oh, gee, I used to be able to do all sorts of things on this board and really crank and torque the knee joint. But now I can't do that. And I wonder if it was a lot of surfing when I was younger too. I don't really know. I didn't play footy for that long. Like, I started when I was maybe 13 and finished when I was maybe 22. So it wasn't like I was doing tons of footy. Yeah.
And does it mean, like, in terms of like the outlook, like, it's unlikely that you could run like big mileage again? Is it the mileage that flares it up more than the intensity?
I think it's it's me just getting super lazy in the gym. Like, I just don't, like, I like the gym, but it goes out the window as soon as I start running like twice a day. I start to neglect the gym, and it was almost, it was almost like clockwork. The first time my knee went, I'd stopped gym for maybe 6 weeks. And then this time I hadn't done much gym for 6 weeks, and all of a sudden the knee pain began again. And sometimes I can just look down and go, your VMO's disappeared again. And as soon as I start seeing the quads waste away, then I know I've got to get back to the exercises that I do. And I just got to be diligent.
Mm.
Give up those double runs for gym sessions, and I'll be able to run faster.
So no, just keep tracking. Just keep reading your signs from your body.
Yeah, well, I'll build back, and I'll build back with slow jogging, and then I've just got this desire to run. Like, when running's taken away, you start to think, like, the sessions are fun and all, but what I really miss is just going for a jog through the bush here for 30 minutes to an hour and just exercising.
100%, Moose. I know
to start your
exactly
day.
what you mean.
Yeah.
That's like sort of me the last few years. It's like racing, I could like take it or leave it. I don't get super up and about, but like just being able to get out the door and run through Mulligans every day, like, finishing that run, that's what makes me happy. Not so much the racing or the race results.
Yeah, and it's the first thing the noticeable thing to go is your sanity. Like, you're losing that time of day that you've always sort of carved out for yourself. Once that goes, and I mean, there's side benefits. Like Breeze gets to run more now. Like she's the priority. I spend more time with Pia, and that's great. Like I honestly love that, and we get a bit more of a connection, considering like we're spending more time together. But you still need your own time. Like you still need to go for your jog, or your surf, or I found I was just walking the dog, and that just doesn't quite do it for me. It's probably like the last resort, but not quite what you're after.
Pia's scream time going up a bit the last couple of weeks.
She
gets the alert. You get an alert on your phone on a Sunday? See how much percent you're up or down? Does that happen to you boys?
No.
That's good from you.
Yeah, I know you're a big fan of childs watching screens.
Oh, best invention ever. Don't kids love them, boys?
Oh, yeah.
Like, imagine having screens when you were that age. You'd be so much more advanced in the world than you were, like having to read books. You can basically get the same education from one blippy than you can from reading 10 books.
Blippy. Anyway, let's thank some Patreon supporters. We're 60 minutes in. We've got to get rolling on the second half of the show. Who are you thanking, Croaks?
I got Frankie Morgan. So Frankie was living in Sydney, but I think she's recently relocated to North Queensland, so maybe up somewhere around Rockhampton. Has a best parkrun time of 24:16 from the Ponds Parkrun. Ran 50 flat at the 2022 Sydney 10, 149 at the 2019 Central Coast Half Marathon, and 422 at last year's Chicago Marathon. So thanks for your support, Frankie, and I hope the move to Queensland's gone smoothly.
Thanks, Frankie. Who you got, Moose?
Well, I've got my old mate Mike Spray. So Mike is a bit of a legend, actually. He runs the running company in Launceston. They were the second store, or maybe they were since 2011. He was in the top 3, I reckon, of stores that opened, like in terms of age. So he's one of the youngest, but he's definitely not the youngest owner. He's actually the oldest by a fair bit, old Mike. But he's set up real well down there. He's got a wife who's rich as, owns a ton of properties. And she's younger than him, way more attractive than him. He's doing something right, Mike.
He's done well.
Yeah, he's done real well. He's very fun. I like it at conference. He always enjoys himself at conference, so it takes the edge off a little bit. He has got some PBs, though, so let's run through these. He's run 23:03 at Lonnie Parkrun, 48:26 at the 2013 Run the Bridge, 152 at the 2013 Cadbury Half, and he ran Big Sur Marathon, 5:07 there. That's like at the Great Ocean Road type marathon, but over in California. And he may have run Chicago Marathon in 2006, running 4:12. But I reckon if you go back, he might have played like field hockey, perhaps for England at one point. He was very high level hockey player and big dog in the corporate world. Not so much now. Now he works just in the running store, and I'm not sure he works too often either. Don't know. I'll have to confirm a few of these things when I see him next.
Mike's been thrown under the bus there a couple of times, I think, Croaks.
He'll agree with everything, I reckon.
I'm going to thank Colin McCluskey from Scotland. Not a lot on his Strava since October. So, Colin, I hope you haven't got an injury at the moment. Maybe just gone dark on the Strava. Has a 5K PB of 17:09 from the Edinburgh Parkrun. He's also ran 36:09 at the 2022 Blast Running 10K and 81:40 at the 2022 Scottish Half Marathon, and has a marathon PB of 2:55 from last year's Edinburgh Marathon. So a massive thank you, Colin, for your support of this Australian podcast all the way over there in Scotland. Mike and Frankie, appreciate your support as well. If you like what we do on the show, you can support us, patreon.com/Inside Running Podcast. I think our next Road to series kicks off next week. It's got to be close. Moose, have you got an announcement about who your guest is? Who's the person you've gone out and recruited? Is that confirmed?
Yes. So, it's confirmed. She's in. Carla Treweek. So I reckon we've shouted her out maybe on the podcast before. She was a patron. Her husband Will's a patron. And
he's the one with a gambling addiction, isn't it? Was that him?
Yeah.
He has like spreadsheets of every bet he's ever put on.
Could be.
Was that him or not?
No, that is him.
It is him,
That's him. And so Carla, she's like a high flyer from the corporate world. I guess she's a accountant partner in one of the big firms down in Ballarat. So that'll be good listening to hear what a life's like as a partner in an accounting firm.
Well, relatability, actually has a job and has the challenge of fitting in training around it.
Yeah, she does. She ran Ballarat Marathon, a Ballarat half. I think she ran, I'm going to say like 81 minutes, perhaps 82. You know, when Strava cuts a bit off, like it rounds it up or down. Pretty good though, pretty good. She'll be running the marathon there. She ran her first marathon at Sydney, where it was a tough day for everybody. So a tough day to run your first marathon. So she's looking for a bit of marathon redemption. Reckon the boys will ask her a PB once she gets on there.
She got a time in mind, Moose?
Oh, I reckon the time's to go under 3. And she got quite fit last time for Sydney, and it was a doable thing, but we got slammed with that weather. So if faster at Gold Coast, big 3-hour pace pack. It should be looking good. She's pretty fit, and she's about to go into monk mode, she reckons. So she told me that as she was at the pub yesterday. She goes, after this afternoon when I get rat shit drunk, I'm going to go into monk mode.
1:21:35 yesterday, Moose, on her Strava.
What was it?
1:21:35.
Yeah, bloody, that's good.
Hey, I like this.
This one, Brady. Got a half marathoner, got Reece, and then a female marathoner as well.
I love this in her description of yesterday's race as well. Started a bit fast for my current fitness. Brackets, not like me. Does she like banking time early, Moose?
Yeah, she comes from...
Yes.
She's a bit of a fast twitch type athlete. So transitioning her to the marathon's been a long process, actually. But she can move quick. And she likes to do that in the first 30 seconds of a race, sometimes the first 5 minutes of a race. But we've got to get that out of her. Who we got? Reece, also dumb. Probably not going to help out in that regard. Maybe Hopper can help.
Hopper's a man that does triple runs when they're not scheduled on the program.
This ain't looking good.
She has a dog called Pepper.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Staffy? A Staffy? Yep.
That's a Staffy. Yep.
Yeah, she's really rich too, Carla. Like, she's got this new house that they're renovating fully, putting a second story or something on.
Okay.
It's nice in Ballarat when you're the partner of an accounting firm.
Reece, Sam Hopper, and Carla Trewek. Is that it? I said that correctly?
Trewek? It's a funny name, isn't it?
You coach her as well, don't you? You write a program?
Yes, yep.
So that's going to be fascinating. It might sound like Moose has just pulled a random name out of the hat here, but a lot of time and effort goes into finding the correct people to put these panels together. And we're very, very confident we've got this correct. And I'd like to think in the past we've got them pretty well from random names that you may not have ever heard of. And then all of a sudden you know who Rob Wilson is and Jimmy Friend and who else? Paddy Stowe and names like that. So, yeah, keep an eye out for that, Patreon supporters. As of next week, I think will be their first week. 9 weeks leading in, 1 week afterwards, 10-week series. Patreon supporters will also get the show early on a Monday night.
As you're listening to this show, you're probably training for a race. But how dialed in is your race nutrition? Precision Fuel and Hydration has a free online planner that you can use to work out how much carb, sodium, and fluid you need to perform at your best. Then they have a range of fuel and electrolyte products to make it real easy to hit your numbers. Brady regularly uses their resealable 90-gram gel on his longer runs. They also work with a long list of top runners, including 4-time Olympian Lisa Waitman, Hayden Hawkes, and regular guest on the show, Izzy Bat Doyle. Click the link in the show notes to use the planner to personalise your strategy for your next race. Then use the code INSIDE to get 15% off your first order of fuel and electrolytes and help support the show. Patrons can get 20% off using the code shared in our Patreon-only shows.
Let's move on. Running news. Do you want me to... Who's blue? That's you, Moose. Read out the results
Ballarat.
here.
I can do Ballarat, mate. Yeah. I was there. Didn't see everything. Saw the marathon. Tom Do Canto went through 65.40, I reckon it was. About that. 65.30 maybe. But he didn't finish that off. He ran 2:17.04. So it got a bit lonely out there for Tommy. I think he had some gut trouble. You were second, 2:19.40. But look, Tom took home $6,000, right?
Yeah, we got the big novelty checks.
$6,000.
And he won 2.5 at that 5K the week before. So
and do you know what?
Good week.
Makes his coach Gary Howard fly down on off his own back. I reckon he's got to fix him up there. I told him that the other day. So Callum Drake was third, 2:22.49. So he's come through. He's I had Nathan Stoke pegged for third. I was telling people he finished third. I didn't think he'd fallen back through the field like that.
He was fifth in the end, yeah.
Right. In the
ladies, got
ladies,
him in the home straight, I think, pretty close to the end.
Gee, rough. Ella McCartney, she won the race, 2 hours 40.55. Solid time down there. Jess Willis was second in 2:48.38. Close finish here. Kellie Angel was third, 2:48.47. 9 seconds finishing second and third. You'd be seeing them like only a few steps up in front of you on that hill. Not the time you really want to be sprinting, although you look pretty good sprinting up that hill. Half Reece Edwards, he ran 65.27. So he actually only beat Archie Reid by 14 seconds in the end. It was pretty close there. They were running together as a pack with Tom, and actually Tom looked easily the most comfortable. It was pretty impressive stuff. Kieren Perkins, he's come down from Queensland. He's come third, running off on a massive pack that they had in that third place pack. He ran 66.38, so they really kicked it down at the end. Tara Palm, she won the women's 72.48. She has beaten Gemma, both of those ladies backing up from Osaka. She's run 75.08, and Ella Higgins 75.51. There was 10Kers too, boys. Jacob Cox 29.52. Tim Broxop 32.39. Josh Hawkes 33.35. Women. Melissa Duncan 34.16. Elizabeth Winter 35.04. And Michelle Edwards 36.50. Now the 5K and the mile they were on Saturday night. A pretty cool little closed course for this one. Pretty hilly. Dale Carrol won the men's 14.36. Beat Craig Huffer. Gee, still kicking around Craig Huffer.
Yeah, I didn't realise he's back in the country. I thought he was still over in the US.
He was back for a while, right?
Yeah, and then I thought he went back over.
Oh, I don't know. Yeah.
I thought at one point he was training with the very nice track club. Yeah.
Perhaps. Yeah. Don't know the outcome. Ian. Come on, boys, help me out here.
Not the guy to ask about names.
Ewan?
Eoin.
It's Irish, isn't it? Is it Irish?
That's not a name.
Well, it clearly is. It's this guy's name.
I reckon it's just a spelling mistake off the results.
Croaks a stitched up here.
Ian Smith, 14.58.
Yeah, Smythe there, actually, Moose.
Smythe's got an E on the end, surely. Smythe, you've messed that up. Zoe Buckman, big night for her. She got heaps of cash. She won the mile and the 5K. She won the 5K in 16.21. Olga Fersova was second, 16.34. Isabel Hume, 16.58. And in the mile, kind of exciting running this mile, really. The men's was more exciting. It was much closer. Paul Robinson won in 4:12. The finish was like a 400 meters uphill, full gas, and we're talking a pretty good uphill. And these guys were lactic swimming in lactic the last 200 meters. Even it flattens out a bit towards the end, but there was not a lot of ground clearance with their legs. Will Lewis second, 4:13, and Evander Scott 4:15. Geelong fella. Zoe Buckman, she won the women's, of course. I said that, 4:49. Big gap. Olga Versova again second in 4:59, and Anna Kasapis 5 minutes. So that's Ballarat. Put it on your radar. and enter next year. I'm sure they'll have early birds. They do that, and that's the way you got to do it these days. You got to get in early.
Destination race. Kifu half happened as well. We had Brett Robinson over there and Jen Gregson. Brett was 11th in 63.42. The race was won in 61.26 from Hillary Kipkoech. And Jen was 4th in 71.39. And that was won by Stella Chisang in 67.59. So not the fast. Or didn't Sinead run like a 68 minute there last year? I was about to say not the fastest course, but Sinead's ran quick there.
Yeah, I think it was pretty hot. I think it was well into the 20s, 20 degrees.
Okay.
Just getting warm, I guess, for a half.
Yep. So 2 of the big dog Australian names there in action. Hamburg also happened. The story here for Australia was that Andy Buchanan, he went out trying to run that 2:08.10 pace, went through halfway in 63.49, so it was on track. He did fade a bit towards the end, but still managed to run a massive PB, I think like 90-second PB, where he ran 2:08.58, and it moves him to the 7th fastest time of all time over the marathon. So good PB from Andy, but will just miss the qualifying time. I'm not sure if he slides into that rankings croaks, but Liam would still be ahead of him anyway.
Yeah, I think Liam...
The road to Paris?
Yeah, so they take the average of your best 2 marathons in the period, and where Liam's at an advantage is he ran 2:08.39 at the Gold Coast, which gives him good points from a performance point of view, but because it was the Oceania Champs and he won that, he got a bonus 70 points, which is huge. I don't know what 70
2:04 equivalent, I got told today.
Yeah, exactly. So it makes it really hard then for Andy, because Andy's 2 best are the Hamburg run and
2:10 last year and this year's 2:08.
Yeah, so I'd say that Liam's still ahead of Andy on those ranking points.
Yeah, I'm just trying to load it now. A big PB though from Andy Moose. You would have been happy to see this come across. It's progressed well in the marathon.
It's I still feel like he is one of the up and comers, but he's been established for a while now. So it's real. I never give him, in making predictions, I never give him the credit he deserves. And even with this one, I did not think that he would run this fast. I'm like, he's coming back from a hip. Mm-hmm. It's still Andy from Bendigo. I just don't think he can run anywhere near what he wants to, or what other people were saying that he was going to go for. And he's come out and fully proved me wrong. And he's put himself up there now on a massive pedestal, I guess, of stepping away from the reputation that he may have had as an AV cross country champion, but not so much someone who's running sub 2:10 marathons. And maybe it is because he supports the local scene so much that he gets a little bit undervalued, and even by me. But
boy next door kind of vibes.
Yeah,
exactly.
Just your local runner.
I'm with you, Moose. I didn't think he would run this fast, particularly not when I saw his first 2 5K splits. It was literally 3-minute K. So it's what's that, 2:06.40 pace.
He was just hanging on the back of a group, though. I saw some video today.
But still, it's
just went with the paces.
But you still have to run that. And I thought to myself, he's well under the Australian record pace at the moment. And I thought, this is real brave. And to his credit, he faded a little bit in the last 10K, but there was no real massive blow-ups. I think his 5K split from 35 to 40K was maybe 15:40. Which is still very, very respectable given how quick he went out. So, he's definitely, won't make the Olympics this year, but give him another 4 years, and I reckon if he stays in one piece, he'll be probably on the next Olympic team.
Ryan Greg. Oh, sorry, you go, Moose.
So you know what can happen is Liam Adams gets that spot in the top 80 or the rankings on rankings. That spot opens up for Australia. They can pick whoever they like for that spot. I believe.
I was wondering this, but does Andy still have to be in the 80 to be considered?
No,
Okay.
I don't think so. I think he
Sure,
only
Reece?
has to have run 2:11:30. I believe so. Yeah.
But there's no way though that they can pick Andy over Liam, given Liam's actually run faster than Andy in the period at the Gold Coast.
I know. I don't think they should either. But I'm just saying I believe that can happen because it's the way that the US trials thing happens. You know, they open spots up. The craziest thing is that one athlete out there who does all the work to run that time, they still have to run the trials to get into the team, even though they're the ones that have unlocked the spot for the country, and then someone else can just go in and claim it.
Yeah. There's also unfortunately, marathon's one of those events where injuries happen in the lead up. And so both for the men's and the women's Aussie teams, it's like, the selectors will probably pick the top 3 fastest, but one of those 3 might get injured, which means that then the next person is in line, which, would be the same sort of thing. If Brett, Pat or Liam gets injured, then Andy's sort of next in line.
Mm.
So because Liam's in with the ranking points, but it's still, if they've got the time, that still unlocks a spot for Australia, Moose?
Oh, look.
So can you,
I'm second guess. Yeah. I'm second guessing myself a little bit here.
The point I'm trying to make: could Andy take Liam's spot and or Brett and Pat's, or is it just Liam's because he's with ranking points? If one of them was to get injured, hypothetically.
Yeah, don't quote me on that one. Okay. Actually, I've got in over my head.
Liam's 73rd of 80 qualification closes this Sunday, so he'd be starting to get pretty confident.
I reckon I'm not sure this has been updated though, because Andy's still.
Okay.
Yeah, they're down to 93rd here, and I thought Andy would have been in Andy should be in the rankings here somewhere, given what he ran last night, combined with his 2:10 from last year, but he's not there. So it might be a few days for this to update.
Refresh that midweek. Ryan Gregson was in action. He ran at 2:18:53 after a 66:17 first half marathon. So I guess a bit of disappointment there for Ryan. And Ali Moose, she was 11th in 2:29:58, which was the same position Andy was actually, 11th. She went through half in 72:54. I know there was a whole lot of listeners tracking her. I was not. I was relying on Croaks' updates, but what can you tell us as coach?
Disappointing day for Ali. She just didn't have it. She didn't have it. She felt tired early. She went out off from the start and ran just maybe a K or so with the pacer that was going through in 2:23:30 pace. And it felt too fast for her. So she made the decision to drop back and she ran with the next group, which were running 3:26 to 3:30 pace. And that group had, I think they were going for the Olympic qualifier, which is 2:26 something. And that had Natasha Wodak in it, the Canadian girl. And I think Ali was comfortable staying at that pace. But she just said she just started feeling like it just got too hard. She just dropped off the group, couldn't keep up. And then she managed to finish, obviously, and she still ran under 2:30. I know that's nothing she's happy with, but look, we're in a different age now where you're looking at a 2:29 from a female runner. Like when she ran under 2:30 for the first time, or when she ran 2:31, I think she was still in the top 15 all time or something. And so the game's just changed, and she was upset anyway. She's disappointed. She needs a little bit of a refresh. She needs to move on from this Olympic qualifying campaign, I reckon, and maybe we just start fresh with some new goals, different approach. I'll sit down with her when she gets back and we'll work out maybe what didn't what we did wrong, because I don't really know. I don't think you'll ever really know what you did wrong. Like, you're only just guessing, but at least if we put our heads together and I can hear her thoughts on what she would like to do different next time, and then we can come up with a plan for the future.
I know not the outcome you guys were hoping for, but it'd be a bit of relief as well for her that's probably all over. Like, it's probably something she's thought about every day for the last year and a half. And then just like, it's done now.
Yeah.
It's out of your head.
I think she did feel a little bit like that, like the weight's lifted off her shoulders. She doesn't have to think about it every time she wakes up. Doesn't have to. I mean, she said that it maybe didn't stress her that much, but I can imagine that every conversation that's happening in running now is about the women's marathon team. Mm-hmm. And she was on the last one. She was in the Olympics last. She's essentially lost her spot. Not that no one's ever promised a spot, but that was her spot that she sort of dropped out of. With that Valencia race she got injured for, she got injured back in, I'm going to say November or October. And ever since then, it's felt like that there's always been a slight press or a slight rush to get fit. And it's just been about this thing the whole time. And I reckon, we just got to take away that a little. I don't know. We just got to take away those sort of massive overbearing type goals. Just get back to running and having fun with it again.
Yeah, I agree, Moose. Because you look at early last year where she came out, not long after giving birth and qualified for World Cross when probably wasn't expected to in a way, and then progressed her fitness, a lot between the trial and then World Cross and had an amazing run there. But it's like there was absolutely no pressure on her at that time in her running and really no expectation. And she ran like super well as a result.
Yeah, I know that. I just keep thinking back to that and going, wow, how good was that run? And like even some of her sessions have gone really well. Like she's really fit, but it just hasn't come together. And I think that part of it could be what's going on upstairs and how we're framing everything. Maybe just a little bit placing too much importance on the times that we have to run rather than just making sure the race goes well.
Be nothing like being on the other side of the world as well. Like, there's only one place she'd want to be. That'd be at home with her husband and baby. I've done that long flight home solo, and I could definitely have empathy for what she'd be doing now. Feels like forever to get home.
I think they're a little dusty this morning. 26-hour flight home. I know what it feels like, and it doesn't feel good. A lot of self-pity. It's a long way.
Back in economy too.
Oh yeah, she's got to be doing just get to work on the Run Strong business. You got 20 hours of bookwork ahead of you.
Let's move on to Adidas had an event. It was the Adizero Road to Records in Germany. I've seen this the last couple of years. The one record they got was World 800 metre silver medalist Emmanuel Wanyoni. He broke the road world record for the mile. He ran 3:54.5. These records have only been relevant the last couple of years because Hobbs Kessler from the US set it last year at the World Road Running Championships when he ran 3:56.1. So some good PR. They all wear the same kits. They go around a bit of a circuit. I personally didn't tune in, but I know a lot of people that did. So that was the big news coming out of that Adidas event. And then Croaks, the last bit of news I think we've maybe got here. A bit more as well. Shanghai Diamond League.
Yeah, so the Diamond League was on Saturday night, our time. So I watched a little bit of it before I went to bed and then watched the rest Sunday morning before my long run. Unfortunately, the women's 5K, it wasn't a Diamond League event, so it wasn't actually televised. I was just getting sort of the live splits. The race was won by McCartney's Alan Machete in 14:36. AL Dagnachu was second in 14:36 as well. And Let's and Bet G'day was third in 14:37. So it was probably a little bit of an upset there that G'day didn't get the win because it was probably favourite going in.
Can't win a race. She doesn't win races. I've been saying this for years.
It was a massive kick down as well. I don't think she got the greatest kick. Like, I reckon they closed in like very low 60 seconds. But from an Aussie point of view, Rose Davies ran 14:47 to finish 11th in the race, but that's the third fastest time ever by an Aussie, behind Jess Hull and Benita Willis. But more importantly, the Olympic qualification standard is 14:52. So now she's pretty much guaranteed at running the 5K at the Olympics. Doesn't need to rely on ranking points anymore. Other Aussies in action: Lauren Ryan, she ran 14:58 to finish 13th. Izzy Bat-Doyle ran 15:06 to finish 16th, and Morty Skyring ran a PB of 15:12 to finish 17th. Impressive from Rose, boys, but probably not unexpected given her brutal kick at Nationals a few weeks earlier.
Yeah, so good to see. She can just relax now too.
Yeah.
She's got it.
Yeah. And quick little shout out to Scott Westcott, who had probably one of the best coaching weekends of anybody ever. He's put Andy Buchanan, I assume that he's still coached by Scott.
Yeah, correct.
Yep.
Yeah, he's got him to 7th fastest all time. And then he's gone and got Rose Davies. What's she run? What's that all time? Third all time. So very, like, these guys, part of Melbourne Track Club, but have their own coaches. I think they do a bit of group stuff when they're together, but geez, amazing sort of weekend for Scott Westcott.
Yeah, very good. The men's 5K, Borrega, he got the win in 12:55. It was a bit of a weird race. The pacing was set up for like 12:45, which the commentators were sort of surprised that they wanted the pacing to be that quick this early on in the season. And they were on that pace, sort of halfway through. And then once the paces pulled out, they really slowed it down. So, yeah, Bray got the win, 12:55. Biniam Mahari, who's 17 years old, he got second in 12:56. And Benson Kiplingat was third in 12:58. Aussies, I'd say probably a little bit disappointing again. Morgan McDonald, he ran 13:18 to finish 7th. And Jack Rayner was 19th in 13:19. And Matt Ramsden didn't start the race. So I'm not sure whether he got injured between the two Diamond Leagues or whether he was sick. But, every time I see the 5K at these sort of major meets now, I'm always expecting one of the Aussies to run a sub 13:05 to book that automatic qualifier. Do you agree?
Yeah, I've expected to see it hit those two plus Kai Robinson. And you kind of expect Stewie, and he nearly got it last week. But yeah, because you run out of opportunities, don't you?
Well, they are running out of time. Well, they got till the end of June. So,
it's more the races.
8 weeks, I suppose. And there will be a lot, there'll be a lot of races on between now and then because it is an Olympic year and they know that they've only got till the end of June. But I just would have thought that these guys would be getting closer to that 13:05 than where they are at the moment. Steeple, Beatrice Chepkoech got the win again, 9:07. Cara Fian Ryan was the only Aussie in action. She finished 11th in 9:31, which was a slight improvement from the week before. And not a Diamond League result, but Ollie Hoare ran the mile over at Penn Relays. He finished second behind Yared Nagus, running 3:51.28. Now, you can qualify for the Olympics by running a mile time, but he missed that by 0.88 of a second. So close, but I have no doubt that Ollie will get that Olympic standard in the next race or two.
How far was he behind Nagus?
Not much.
They gave him a run for his money.
So Yared,
they're on the line.
Yeah, okay.
Yared was
Good.
3:51 low, so less than 0.28 of a second.
Yeah, so he was thereabouts.
Yep.
Very good. Listen to the question, Croaks. You got a few.
Which one do you want? Do you want to continue the trend from last week's one?
Just what should people do trend. What did you agree with me last week, Moose? Stewie for the 5K, more success than the 1500 opportunities at the Olympics?
Yeah, look, I don't know. I'm kind of coming to Croaks on this one.
Just because he's better at arguing.
Yeah, I did listen to it and I thought I reckon he's got me here. A bit like Leanne, although she didn't say a name, but I was like, yeah, Croaks, you won me here. You won me.
It is a tough one. Like, Stewie at his best is going to be competitive, but I just think, he finished 10th in the 5K to Diamond League, and it's very rare that he finishes that low in a 1500, and the 1500s are always pretty stacked at the Diamond Leagues.
No, I've already agreed with you, mate. You don't have to convince me.
All right, well, we'll go to the top one then. Just chatting about Jack, is it time for Jack to go back to the marathon?
Well, he's not gone for this Olympic campaign. He hasn't got enough time. It'd have to be racing this weekend if he wanted to try and run 2:08:10. Hasn't it like his body just broken down every time he's tried to go back to the marathon?
Yeah, but I spoke to him, after he ran that national record for the 10K, and I sort of addressed the marathon with him, and I also addressed the fact that he'd been running more mileage this time than he did like last year or the year before, and he hasn't broken down, and he reckons that he's been like looking after himself better and eating more.
Yeah.
So maybe that's the reason why he was breaking down.
Yep.
Yeah. This is a tough one though. Like, we're talking about a guy who's pretty close to breaking 27 minutes for 10K, which one argument is like, well, why would you move up when you're still like pretty competitive in the 10K? But then you look at all of these guys like Brett, Pat Tiernan, Andy, those guys are nowhere near Jack over 10K. And if he can put some like marathon strength behind what he's got over 10K, then he's clearly got a really fast marathon in him.
He's a beast on the roads too. Very hard to beat in like a 10K half marathon road race, especially domestically. Maybe money entices him back to the roads and marathon.
What do you think, Moose?
Yeah. Well, he's obviously committed to this track season, and he ran that very good 10K, and we probably thought, okay, well, maybe we got this wrong. Maybe he is the track guy. The road is where the careers are made, aren't they, in marathoning? Like, there's a lot more money, like you said. There's a lot more glory as well. Like, he can go around pretty much winning every marathon and road race in Australia. If he obviously won't do that, but he could, and he could probably pick up 50 grand along the way, just winning all the races. I think the glory is still in the marathon. There's still this sort of novelty, that not a novelty, but an aura around the marathon where it's what everyone looks at. It's what we're talking about. Like, how long did we spend talking about marathons tonight versus the Diamond League race? Like, Rose Davies ran 14:47, and we spent 2 minutes on it. But then we talk about Andy's marathon, we talk about your marathon, and we just talk about marathons. Like, it's kind of, we treat it like the pinnacle of our sport. I reckon there's like a romantic thing, and I reckon Jax would be into that. I feel like that's where people want to run. Like, that's what I see anyway. See,
it's
Brett
also
Robinson's
relatable to the people who do our sport as well. Like, there's a bigger audience there,
and brands like that. I'm sure they do, especially with the running boom that's going on right now. Like, it's probably more commercial. Yeah.
And he did show a lot of potential when he was running the marathon, because I think at the time, like, his debut was, he only just missed Jeff Hunt's like debut record. And I remember in London, he wasn't that far behind Brett, and like Brett had obviously run a few marathons by that stage, and Jack was pretty new to it. And you look at how, Brett's marathon career has progressed since then, and there's no reason Jack can't do that or even run faster than Brett, given what Jack's been able to do on the track.
Yeah, we haven't seen Jack Rayner in the marathon at his peak. That's for sure.
No.
Do you want to do the one about Sinead proving fitness?
Yeah, all right. We know that one as well, because I guess the marathon team is going to be announced very soon, isn't it? So the question
Everyone's
here
picking
is,
there. We did this on Patreon a couple of weeks ago, like, who you picking? Give us your top three. And there were some people that wrote in saying, like, just they'd left Sinead off, saying we just can't put her in because we just haven't seen a result from her for so long.
Yeah, so question is, should Sinead have to prove fitness before AA announces the Olympic marathon team? And I guess for some context here is, I think, Brady, you looked up her race results because when she qualified for the Olympics, like it was pretty much in the first week of the qualification period opening. So when was that? December. So start of December 2022.
It was December 8th that day.
Yeah, and so what has she run of note since then? I think you looked it up. It wasn't a lot, was it?
On the spot a bit here. She ran Sydney Marathon.
Yep.
She also won, I'm going to say, Burnie 10K. These are all 2023 results. I'm just loading her profile up now as well. There's no official result from 2024 on her profile. However, she did pace Nagoya Marathon. And then her other result in 2023 was Maragami, 5th of Feb, which was 69.29.
Okay, so that was just over a year ago.
So she's ran a half, a 10K and a marathon on her profile since she set the time at the end of December 2022. 32.48, 69.29 and 2:31.27. Of course, we're talking Sydney, hot weather, hilly. Time's pretty much irrelevant, Moose. You were there.
Yeah, that wasn't a fitness show, that one.
She won an Australian title, though. She rocked up.
She has to prove fitness. Like, it'll be in the criteria. It'll also, like, it's probably, it's only fair that she has to show fitness. Mm-hmm. And she ran her qualifying time so long ago that, like, there's so much can happen within that time that we need to see Sinead. We need to see something from her before the team's selected, I think. Or she gets selected and has to provide some sort of fitness check between the selection and the race early enough where if everything's, say she has a bone stress injury or something, that someone else can still prepare for it.
I think the reason why I sort of agree with that, Moose, is just when you look at how congested our top 5 girls are. Whereas if you had Sinead and it's very hard to leave the Australian record holder out, especially if she is in decent shape. But it would be different if you had her and then our third runner was maybe had just come in underneath the Olympic standard. But when you consider you've got Jen at 223 low, Lisa 223.15, you've got Jess 223 high, Izzy Bat-Doyle 223 mid. You got all of these girls that are more than capable. It's not like we've got 2 girls at 222, 223, and then one at 226. So I think she should have to prove some sort of fitness, whether that's a race, whether it's something would they accept some sort of training session to prove fitness?
Well, what about the pacing job? What'd she pace? 223 group, wasn't it? Nagoya? 71?
Yeah, I mean, it could be. There's nothing that says that it couldn't be a proof of fitness. It's still her out there running. It doesn't really need to be a race result, does it?
No, she goes and does
split quicker than what Jen ran for her half on the weekend.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
That is proving fitness, really.
I did see she put up one long run from a couple of weeks ago, and it was quite hilly and quite fast. So that proves a bit of fitness, I guess. It was 4 minute Ks for 30 plus K with 300 meters of elevation, I think it was.
Yeah, it's a solid flex when you see a Strava upload from Sinead. It's some solid numbers there. See what happens this time. We won't get the team until all the appeals have been heard, though, will we? They won't say, here's our 3 next week, and then they'll go, now we open up appeals? Or do they let the people know and then open it up to appeals before they make it public?
I'm not sure.
She put a run up yesterday, actually.
Yeah, she did, yeah.
Yeah, 30K 403s.
Maybe this is her campaign begun. It seems everyone's got a bit of a campaign going on out there. This is.
Yeah. So do you reckon those
social media this week could be fun? You reckon, Moose? Just keep an eye out. Just follow all the accounts.
So obviously the girls that are in contention for the 3 spots, you got Sinead, you got Jen, you got Lisa, you've got Izzy, and you've got Jess. Now
Did you see the ABC article? Athletics Australia shared it today.
No, I didn't read it. But the two that miss out, do you think they will both appeal?
Yes.
Or the girls will just accept the selector's decision?
Nah, I think they all appeal. Maybe not Eloise, because her time's a bit off the other two.
It would be hard to pick Eloise.
What do you got to lose if you're appeal, if you're Izzy or Jess? Or if you're Jen or Lisa? How much does it cost?
There's probably a cost involved. And a lot of the time the appeals, you have like representation, don't you? Like you have legal representation.
Oh, okay. I don't know these kind of things. Geez, it'd be good if we can get a whisper next week, though. If anyone's listening who has some kind of like source on the inside, it could be a great whisper of the week. Who's appealing?
Yeah, there'd be a few with their cases already written, I reckon. Prepared.
Well, as you should.
Go. We should just message Sinead and ask her whether the selectors have, told her whether she needs to prove fitness or not.
It would be in the criteria, though, wouldn't it, or not?
I don't know.
I don't know. Yeah, we're really
you still have a chat. There's still a chat about it.
It's not open dialogue before the team selected, though, is it? Can she talk to the selectors beforehand and just say, like, hey, am I good or do you need something from me?
Yeah, I don't know how it works. But, like, clearly she's running pretty well. Like, you're not banging 4-minute K, 30K runs.
The fact that she hasn't shown fitness, hasn't raced, probably shows she's confident. Because she could have just went around for Ballarat on the weekend and won the half in 68 minutes, 69.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Watch this space. It's going to be a very interesting, it's going to be an interesting couple of months, but, from the marathon perspective, interesting next month.
It will be. No whispers across my desk, boys, but have you two got any? Or have you got a moose on the loose, Moose?
Oh, yeah, got a couple. So I've just got a little list of them that I'm going to run through, all right? And we can get into it if we want. Australian runners that have American accents. Don't like it.
This is a good one.
I reckon you've already said that before.
Oh, I've said it before, but now it's getting to me even worse. Terrible stuff. Like, it's not that hard to keep your Australian accent. Surely you're speaking to Australians through your time in the US. Don't like it. Ned Brockman being the most famous runner that Australia has right now. This comes from being on a trip with non-runners, and everyone just wants to talk about Ned Brockman. And then even within brands, talking, was that
the Paris trip, Moose?
There was a bit there, but then it was also like, met a brand the other day, and all they wanted to talk about was how good Ned Brockman was, and he was like such a famous runner, and I'm like, oh my God, he does not represent running in Australia.
Yeah.
Run Club pre-run speeches. Now, this is gold. If you want to cringe yourself to death, go and watch some of these new run crews that have popped up, and watch some of the people before the run give these big motivational chats to go run 3K around the block and then have 4 coffees. Oh, it's so gross. Like, that's not what running easy and jogging is about. It's not some kind of fucking war chant. You're not going to battle to go on your jog around the block. And
reminded me of like park footy, Moose. Boys in the huddle just giving it, full rev up.
See, I like that. I can get around that, but not on my jog. Not going out for a jog at 5 a.m. in the morning. Like, if I'm running in and I need to hurt myself and hurt other people, I can take care of that. Or even if I'm going to have a race, like, rev me up a bit for a race. But we're jogging around the corner, and these flogs have done nothing. Like, surely no one looks up to them. The only time pre-race stuff works, or pump-ups work, is when you respect the person giving it. It doesn't work when some random does it. I've just got this other one, all the pitches. I don't know what that means. All the pitches.
Be careful with that one. Spoken about pitches at Falls Creek before and got some backlash.
Oh, I don't think it's that. I just can't remember. I just don't know what that was. Maybe it was just like the I don't know what that was. I've lost that one. Jeez, it's not about that.
You've come prepared. This isn't a note section on your phone.
Away on that one. Yeah, I just wrote them down over the course of it, and then I got this other thing in here: Brady muzzling me.
All right, Croaks, what's coming up between now and next week for you?
Back to work tomorrow, back on the chalk. And then I think so a lot of the guys that I coach and girls are looking to maybe run Sydney 10. So we're going to have a bit of a tune-up on Friday afternoon. We're going to head out to the AIS track because it'll be pretty quiet on a Friday afternoon and just roll a 5K around there. So I'm going to jump in and do a bit of pacing and hopefully, run like 16 minutes for 5K.
Oh, that's your fastest 5K in a while.
Yeah, it would be. Yep.
Very good. Bruce, what do you got coming up between now and next week?
Yeah, not a ton. Just doing my thing. Bought a new surfboard, so I'm going to go test that out tomorrow morning.
Okay, purchase of the week. That and the renovations.
Oh, the renovations. Living in a building site. Hard. I should have moved out. Really, someone should have told me, you got to move out. You're going to hate it here. And I really should have done that.
Yeah.
Got to book accommodation for Gold Coast, though. You got Lululemon. They putting us in those tents up on the top of the hotel?
Change of leadership there. The person I communicate with, that was the plan, but then another person's gone into that role since I've had the conversation with the other person. So I've got to check what's going on there. Actually, might do that tomorrow because it's going to come around quick. It's going to be a good live show.
Have you booked your flights?
No, I haven't yet, but I should get onto that. Zach was talking about today, though, some of the live show details, so it's going to be big up there at the Gold Coast. More information to come, but looking forward to doing that again, getting to see a lot of people, and then a few beers afterwards. Should be good. You going to race up there, Moose? Do you reckon you'll be right in 9 weeks?
9 weeks? Ooh, I might be able to jump into something. Definitely won't be fit for it, but I might. It's always nice to do something up there. I think Bree wants to do the half. So that's 10K. On the Saturday.
You taking Pia?
Yeah, I reckon. Yeah.
Okay.
What are your plans now, Brady? Like a couple of weeks down?
Down. Then start doing some Ks. Might run the half at Gold Coast, I reckon. Be good to try and run a PB up there. 65 something, be nice. Bit of AV stuff. Get myself fit in the lead up to that. All right, boys. Good. We're done. Keep your eye out for an interview on the weekend, going back through the catalogue. How good was that video of Dixon that Zach put on Instagram?
Yeah.
That was a good video.
Classic.
I like that.
I haven't listened to the Dixon interview since it was first recorded, but every time I think about the Dixon interview, it just brings a smile to my face, thinking about when he's just calling himself, Dixon.
So many good stories. People are loving that over the weekend. All right, that episode's done, fellas. See you again next week. Thanks for listening, listeners. We'll do it all again for 340 next week. See you, boys.
See you guys.
See ya.